All right, let's bring in Jay Glazer to the show.
Royalty.
Always love talking to Jay, and I don't know if you know this, but the offseason is CHGO Bears season. This is the time of year we live for.
They should have just kept Lovie Smith all those years ago. You'd be fine, right? I mean, talk to you the freaking Super Bowl. What do you mean,
Yeah.
Look what's happened since. All I'm saying is
that
year they got rid of him too, right? You didn't have a losing record, and who did they go to Trestman after that?
Yes.
Right?
That was a disaster.
What are you doing?
They hired Trestman over Bruce Arians, who was waiting in a hotel.
This guy went to a Super Bowl with Rex Grossman, right? Man, he had a way of keeping a culture with all the crazies on that team together.
Well, you obviously covered the coaching carousel very closely. What was your takeaway from the Bears going as hard after Ben Johnson and getting them the way they did?
I think it was great. It developed the ball. And look, here's the thing. When you have a young quarterback, you don't want just a play caller. You got to find somebody who's going to develop you also. And you're always getting developed. Even obviously I'm working with Brady now. Brady, year 28 or whatever was still learning different, working on things and develop. It doesn't stop, right? So I think that's where a lot of teams screw up is they will get a guy who's a play caller and they think they could develop talent, and they don't. But here's what I like about Ben Johnson. No one's talking about. As great as he was with Jared Goff, which he did a great job with Goff, and there's not too many people you could say, wow, this guy did a better job than Sean McVay with quarterback, okay? So that's number one. But what he did, that offensive line, right? That offensive line was fantastic, and I think that is probably the most underrated thing that people don't think about of what he's been able to do with that offensive line and the different pieces there, and he develops, but Chicago's different, as you guys know, man. You gotta, it's a different place to keep the culture inside and keep the noise out.
Go ahead.
What are your impressions with how Kevin Warren has kind of helped change the perception? We heard Rick Smith talk about some things as far as him having an impact on changing kind of the standard and the way Bears are doing business lately.
Well, first of all, when you go in that building now, you're like, oh my God,
it's
right?
nice, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of people go through there and they're like, couldn't believe it. Like, this is not what the first time I went, I'm like, oh my God. And then also they have, wherever I go, I get to work out with the teams because I've trained hundreds of NFL players in mixed martial arts. I've trained Kyle Long for years. Yeah. Kyle was my manny, where he would live with me and he was my son's nanny, and I would train him. And the best thing, by the way, I know I'm here to talk about.
No, this is great.
We had Kyle on today, by the way.
Right.
Yeah,
but so the funniest thing is he comes out, a couple years later, and he goes, "Hey, I'm just going to go." We used to own this bar up in Sunset called Rock and Raleigh's. I said, "Hey, go drop your." He goes, "I'm going to drop my bags off at the house, and I'll mess with Sammy a little bit. And I'll come meet you at Riley's." So I'm sitting in Rock and Raleigh's, and sitting there like, "Where's Kyle?" And all of a sudden, I get a call from Kyle, and he goes, "You moved?" Totally forgot to tell him I moved. He kicked in the door of the house I used to live in.
Oh, boy.
And went, "Sammy, where are you?" And there's like this little old immigrant couple lives there now. And here is Sasquatch kicking in their door, screaming.
Oh, my gosh.
These people went to call 911. And I'm like, oh, my God. Like this poor Ukrainian couple. Like, oh, my God. I was
hilarious.
I didn't tell you I moved. Yeah, my bad, dude. We were totally not in the same town anymore. I just forgot about it.
That could have made news.
Oh, yeah, for the wrong reasons. But Kyle's obviously my little brother, man. I freaking love him with all my heart. Him, the whole family. But I always kind of work out with teams wherever I go. And I remember when they put in that, in their facility, they have now where you could do a walkthrough inside on the turf and this huge screen up where you're actually going against life-size players that you would normally walk through. Usually you go in let's say a team hotel. They use chairs. Like you did it at a bar mitzvah, you put them over there. And it's just next level. So they are, I get to see every team's facility and they are ahead of the curve.
Can you help me understand how I can maybe an 18-year-old who's trying to play high school football, college football can go in the weightlifting room and just want to do it. But when you get older and the desire to still go in there and stay fit and do what you do and combine that with mixed martial arts, can you explain where that motivation comes from?
Troy Aikman said it one time, if you could take working out and put it in pill form, it would be the greatest antidepressant on the planet. And even when I'm at my worst between the years, and I feel it guys, I have bipolar, ADHD, depression, anxiety, but when I'm at my worst, my grades at the worst, I physically feel it. I feel it in the left side of my gut. I feel it behind my rib cage, and my joints ache like I'm in a 50-round fight in the rain. But nothing bad ever happens to me, even if I go work out and have a lousy workout. It's better I did it than didn't. But it also gets me, it releases endorphins. But for me also, like, as I'm 55, I've had 12 ruptured discs. I've had multiple surgeries, and I still spar and I still train because I need that brotherhood, that I just need that for me. When I'm really struggling, I'll actually call teammates of mine. And my teammates are the baddest dudes on the planet. Randy Couture, Chuck Liddell. I called Chuck Liddell a month ago. I'm like, dude, I need you to come over and punch me in the face. Like, I need help. He's like, I'll run right there. So I know it's not normal, but we have this brotherhood that I wouldn't be alive without.
Well, the stuff you've done with mental health and how vulnerable you've been about it, especially in recent years. I mean, I follow you on Instagram. I see the videos you put up there. They're very powerful.
Thank you.
And I know you got Kelbury now that you're working with too.
So, because I started talking about mental health like 4 or 5 years ago, I wrote a book on it, Unbreakable. I have a mental health podcast. I kind of looked at it like I'm the center of dudism. Football, fighting, ballers. I almost question my manhood. I could cry in the drop of a dime. And I was helping out a lot of combat vets. I started a foundation called MVP. We have a chapter in Chicago where combat vets put in with ex-fighters and football players for when the uniform comes off. And these guys kind of gave me the courage. Like, I was talking about it with them. We're talking about deep stuff, depression, suicide. It's like, man, not fitting in. And they gave me the courage. Like, man, if I could help this group, I should share this with the world. And part of my thing is being of service really helps. So that helps me when my level of depression tells me I'm a worthless piece of garbage. And when you're service, that argument's not as easy to have. They can't agree on it. You know what I mean? But also, like, I need teams. That's why I still fight. I need my teams. And by me talking about mental health, it just expands my teams. It gets me to have teammates. And what I've now done, and I go and talk to teams about this. A lot of NFL teams brought me in and different leagues, and I'll talk now about the different things that I have, like ADHD, describing it, but also how I weaponized it, where they've actually helped me, where my depression helped me, my anxiety helps me, my ADHD helps me. I know where it hurts me, but I never really bragged about where it helped me. So, like, my ADHD, they told me I was learning disabled growing up. I'm not learning disabled. I just don't learn the way you teach. I can't sit through a 3-hour freaking, but you know what? You come in, I've trained greatness before. You may not be able to do it the way I do this, right? But where it helped me is I can't sit through a 3-minute or 3-hour lecture, but I could do 6 things at once. I could run a charity. I could have a podcast. I could do Fox Niffle Sunday. I could do a million things, but I know not to. My anxiety, I'm great in chaos. I suck in calm. So business-wise, I will cause chaos on purpose because most people can't deal with it, right? So people want to tap out. Then you have, like, business makeup sex. It helps you out, okay? and like the depression, took me 11 years to get my first full-time job in this business. 11 years making $9,000 a freaking year, living in New York City. That sucked. That was hard. You have no idea the difficulty of 11 years, man. It's freaking hopeless, it seems. But every time I got turned down for a job, my depression told me I'm worthless. So I was like, yeah, of course I'm getting turned down. No problem. And I was able to keep my journey instead of tapping out. So that's why I've kind of weaponized it. If you weaponize it, it becomes your superpower. But also because I talk about it, now I have things at my disposal I didn't know I had. So Kelbury, which is an ADHD drug, it's non-stimulant. I got diagnosed with ADHD in '89, all right, before anybody knew what it was. And when you have ADHD, it's like you're drowning if you're in something you're not interested in. And my only way of getting a breath of fresh air was to disrupt the class, was to do something I was going to get in trouble. I'm getting grounded every week. You think I want to get grounded every week? And I tell coaches now, your players who have this, if they're not interested in it, you can find them as much as you want. They are not capable of focusing on this. So you've got to alter the way you coach, the way you train. I've had to do it with 1 million of my fighters. One blanket doesn't fit all. But because I talk about it, I now have a drug that helps, and I take it at night, and, man, it helps calm the roommates in my head so much. We're like, I'm on a 9-hour media tour today about this, bad ADHD, which is certainly not ADHD conducive, but I wouldn't be able to do this without Kelbury. Not even close. No shot.
No, it's interesting to hear you talk about this. These guys might not even know, but I also grew up with severe ADHD. I was probably diagnosed at the exact same time, and I was born in '85, so the '90s was like trying to, Ritalin and Dexedrine and all the different ones they were throwing at kids at those days, trying to figure out how to find my balance. And so it took me a long time, probably until I was in my 30s, to really find any sense of levelness for me. And obviously these guys know how much I get in my own head too. So you're preaching to the choir here, and I
look how cool that is. You could say this to your teammates now. You said, I don't even know if they know this. Isn't that cool? Like liberating,
I'm sure
they're able to say
somewhat
this.
aware, just being
but to be able to voice it. You know what the coolest thing one of my coolest things my entire career, is Strahan's obviously my baby sister. You guys know he's my best friend and all this. I didn't say anything to him for 30-something years. And every time the beast got out of the box, I would take Vicodin, Adderall, drink. I'd rather get arrested or have some issue than anybody knew I had depression, anxiety. That makes no sense, right?
Right.
So finally, after 30 years, the first time I told him, I said, bro, I can't go out tonight. Only because I wrote a book, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to wait for the book to come out. I'm going to start talking about it now on social media. And you guys, this will tie into the Bears, too. Told Strahan for the first time, man, I cannot go out tonight. The beast got out of the box. And he said, you want to talk about it? I was like, whoa, like this just wasn't us. I said, I do, but not right now because it beat up on me pretty bad. I just got to sleep this one off. He said, you want me to come over and just be with you?
Wow, what a dude.
Yeah.
What a dude.
Wait, get better. Then he says, why have you never told me? I said, bro, we're so competitive. It's just not how dudes are. We're not raised that way, right? Like, I don't make up the rules. I was ashamed. He goes, yeah, but you took away my chance to be your best friend for 30 years.
That's amazing. Wow. What a dude.
That is powerful. And the first time I ever came out on social media with it, I was horrified. Because as we know, social media is a cesspool. But I said, I don't care. I'll deal with that. Within 30 seconds, you're Mercedes Lewis, who I started training in year 3. He's now going on 20. Hits me up and says, Coach, I knew you were crazy, and that's a badge of honor in football and fighting. But I didn't know you were in pain. I'm sorry.
Wow.
Dude. That dude's texted me twice a week, every week since, to check up on me.
Well,
and look, I'm welling up with tears because it's like, man, I had this help for 50 years, and instead I hit it and did a lot of damage to me. And you know what? My one regret is I pushed away a lot of good people in my life because all I knew how to do was just act out. And I was afraid if they knew the real me, nobody'd like me. And turns out that's not the case. The more I could lean in with people, I FaceTimed Michael Phelps on the way here today, afraid that I knew my anxiety was going to get bad with all the people in here. And he's like, I'm on call. I got you. Like we've now become brothers. And when I go and tell these teams, lean into each other. Think how much tighter and closer this will make all you. You don't need to go to the actual therapist. You got 53 therapists sitting right next to you in this room.
Right.
That's a fight team. That's how you win.
It's certainly inspirational to hear this stuff because, when you talk about trying to make it in this industry, like I was, for these guys know, everybody that watches our show, I was a bricklayer for 20 years. And so ADHD, it was my superpower there because you're just banging the bricks home, And then I get into this industry, and it helps me in certain ways running around here trying to find 50 guests.
Because you also know how to grind
already.
It
also hurts me because I get in my head about every little thing that anybody says about me. So it's like one of those things where you're kind of combating and trying to find that peace, and it sounds like you've found your way to it.
My fight team and I, we just got together, some of my teammates, Mark Kerr, Randy Couture, Alex Carolexis. We got together last month in Arizona, and Alex was in the first season of The Ultimate Fighter. Randy Couture, obviously a legend. Mark Kerr, The Rock is making his life movie right now. And we were sitting there going, the whole sticks and stones thing? That don't go for us. Sticks and stones don't break our bones, but man, words really hurt us.
Yes. Yes.
And we get in our own heads about it. But you're right, but don't listen to the roommates in your head. Start talking to other people and listen to them and hear them. And that's what I wasn't doing for most of my life.
Well, just to underline, what Jay is doing right now is showing you what I would call the new model of manhood. It's
damn
not,
right.
Being able to share what's going on in here, that is a man. It's not how and he can do this too. Obviously, it's not how much weight you can lift.
It sounds like I need to get in the ring too, because I always
what else
joke
you
with
don't.
these guys. Because I always joke with these guys when I was bricklayer, like we get in a fist fight once or twice a year, and now I haven't been punched in the face in like 4 years, and I'm like, come on, man,
No,
like somebody needs to deck me.
It's just no, you don't need that. But that bricklaying thing, man. I come from a wrestler's background. It's that wrestler's grind. What makes wrestlers great is all the hours you put in when no one's watching. No one watches wrestling. No one watches wrestling practice. There's no fans out there. Like, our team was great growing up, but my first fight was in a high school gymnasium. I got $130. There's probably maybe 80 people there. I don't know. But that wrestler's grind, a bricklayer's grind of you work, and you don't need glory to do it. Right? Too many people think being famous is the same thing as being great, and it ain't. Two totally different things. And that's what gets in the way of a lot of our athletes' mentality down too. You get that bricklayer mindset, that wrestler's mindset, you'll outwork the world, you'll be all right.
To circle back to the Bears here real quick, I know you just did a podcast here a minute ago or like a week ago, I saw you put on social media where the Bears have a guy that's really teaching the team about leadership.
By the way, he's been there. The way I guess, he's been there for a while. But I said, hey, Ben Johnson just got hired. They have another hire on that team that's really incredibly valuable in Andy Reese. And people are like, and it like kind of got picked up like, wow, they hired him too. I'm like, no, they didn't just hire him. Like, read the freaking tweet right. Or maybe I wrote it wrong. I don't know. But if you go listen to that, I actually, the vulnerability, and I have no problem saying this. The reason why Michael Phelps and I are so close, and he said on my podcast, I'm okay saying it out loud, we self-harm when we get bad. And I hit hard as crap, dude, and it's not good when I hit myself or when he does things. And I open up to Andy on this about how to help me through this. And it's pretty damn cool that the Bears have somebody on the roster that they can go to right there. I had him for an hour, and I was like, hey, I'm taking him up on this. And, again, this is like, look, I'm a work in progress. I'm still crazy, guys, but I'm just I'm able to.
We all are, man.
I'm able to get love now, and I'm able to find new resources like Calvary, and it's able to help me out. I'm not proud of everything, but, man, I wouldn't trade this journey for anything.
Well, honestly, even just I've been sitting here silently because I'm just listening. Like it's, and I told you, like I follow your stuff and it's powerful, and I think everybody appreciates it because it's definitely working.
And you just used the word I was just going to tell you on the way out here. Just congrats on your journey. It's inspirational. So,
and we appreciate all your reporting too, man.
Too. Of course, I appreciate it.
That's my one last football. If they hadn't gotten Ben Johnson, who would have been the Bears coach? Do you have any idea?
No, he was the guy they were really targeting. I don't know who it would have been because they're putting their eggs in that. And I think they had a pretty good idea.
Do you think the Marcus Freeman stuff was real and his opportunity to get to the NFL one day?
I know they wanted to interview him, but obviously, the time wasn't.
I didn't know that. This is the other side of that.
Obviously, well, when you break Trey Smith to the Bears, we'll bring you back on here in a couple months.
I know you guys are surprised by my Eddie George one, right?
Yes, we were. Right? Yeah, we absolutely were. But Eddie's awesome.
Incredible. And you know what, too? Even with that, I talked to those guys like, hey, this cannot be the Rooney Rule thing. Like, no. I gave, like, Ryan credit. He goes, no, and they didn't think Ben Johnson was going to lose.
Right.
And they thought it was going to be a long time. They're like, no, they were going to interview Flo in Minnesota, a couple other guys. And he's like, I just want to give a guy who should get some attention some love in Eddie George, and no one thinks about it. Like, we know what Deion's done, but no one knows what Eddie did. It's incredibly impressive, and I told Eddie, too, go in there, get the words head coach next to him, and go use it. Use this for experience. Eddie's a leader of men.
Yeah, I interviewed him once. I was so unbelievably impressed. I'm a huge fan. So, anyway.
Jay Glazer, thanks so much.
Appreciate you.